All right, so you wanted to really dig into the latest on calorie restriction.
Yeah.
Well, we got it for you right here. A fascinating new study just published in Nature that really makes you think twice about, you know, the old saying, eat less, live longer.
Yeah, it's a really impressive study, too, not just some small experiment. We're talking almost 1,000 mice involved.
Mm-hmm.
And they made sure to include a lot of genetic diversity. Makes the findings way more applicable to humans.
Totally. And like for the longest time, it just made sense, right?
Mhm.
Less fuel you take in, less wear and tear on the body. You'd think that would equal a longer lifespan.
Right, which is why there's been so much research on it and so many different diets and all that, trying to find the perfect formula. But what's really interesting here is this study, they didn't just look at how long the mice lived. They really got into the nitty-gritty of how calorie restriction impacts the body, like what's going on with their immune systems, even how they handled stress.
And that's where things take a turn nobody expected. Get this. The mice who lost the most weight, like the ones you'd think would be the healthiest, they didn't always live the longest.
Yeah, it really throws a wrench in the old way of thinking. Makes you realize it's not as simple as just cutting calories and calling it a day. Like, they found the biggest increase in lifespan was with a 40% calorie reduction.
Yeah.
But here's the kicker. Some mice on less extreme diets, they actually outlived the ones who restricted the most.
Okay, whoa, so if it's not about the number on the scale, then what's the missing piece here?
That's the million-dollar question. And this study is pointing towards something called health span. It's not just about living longer. It's about those years you're alive, being healthy, free from disease. And it seems kind of backwards, but losing the absolute most weight didn't always mean the healthiest, longest life for these mice.
So are we saying those super strict diets backfired, or?
Not necessarily. This is where it gets really cool. They found the mice who really thrived even on these restricted diets. They had one thing in common: resilience.
Okay, now hold on. Let's unpack that. What does resilience look like in a mouse?
That's what they're trying to figure out. The researchers looked at a ton of different factors: how their immune systems reacted to the different diets, how well they maintained a healthy weight, even just behavioral differences in how they dealt with stress. It's like some of these mice were just better equipped to roll with the punches of a calorie-restricted diet.
So it's almost like some of these mice, they won the genetic lottery
Yeah.
when it came to dealing with these dietary changes.
Yeah, you could say that. And it really raises the question of, are there just individual factors at play here, maybe even genetic predispositions, that affect how we respond to something like calorie restriction?
I mean, it makes you think. We all know that person, right, who can just eat whatever they want and stay slim.
Yeah.
While the rest of us are over here struggling.
Exactly. And this study seems to say, yeah, there could be something to that. Of course. We got to remember, we're talking about mice here, not humans. So we can't just directly translate all this.
Right, of course. But even if we can't, like, perfectly map it out from mice to humans, there's got to be something we can take away from this, right?
Oh, absolutely. If anything, it really challenges that whole idea of one size fits all when it comes to health and longevity. Like, what if, instead of getting so hung up on a certain number of calories, we started paying more attention to how our own bodies respond to what we're eating?
So it's more about really tuning into, like,
Mm-hmm.
our energy levels,
Yeah.
how our digestion is doing, maybe even our mood after certain foods,
Yeah.
instead of obsessing over every single calorie.
Exactly. It's about listening to those subtle cues your body's giving you instead of just relying on external stuff, like the number on the scale. This study is a good reminder that we are complex, and our approach to health should be complex too.
I like that. Working with our bodies, not against them. Does that mean we should just ditch calorie counting altogether?
It's not really about throwing everything out the window. It's more like this study adds some nuance to something that's been way oversimplified for too long. Calorie restriction might still have its place, but it's one piece of a much bigger puzzle.
So it's less about eat less to live longer and more about figure out what helps your body thrive.
Now you're getting it. And that's a message that goes way beyond just calorie restriction. It's really about recognizing that we're all unique, and what works for one person might not work for another.
It's kind of blowing my mind. It's like this study's telling us to stop searching for some outside solution and start tapping into our own internal wisdom. But then that brings up the question, if personalized health is the future, where do we even begin with that? How do we go from counting calories to unlocking that inner wisdom? That's the million-dollar question right there. It's like we've been given this map, but no compass or something.
I like that analogy. And the exciting part is we're all figuring this out as we go. This study, it's like a huge step forward, but also opens up so many more doors to explore.
Which I guess is what makes it so interesting, right? It's not about having the answers all neatly laid out. It's about being okay with the unknown and open to new ways of thinking about health and living longer.
Totally. This research is a good reminder that we're not, just robots running on calories. We're complex. Our genes, our environment, our lifestyles, even our mindsets, they all play a role.
So then where do you even begin to untangle all of that? It's a lot, especially for someone who's used to simpler solutions,
Yeah.
quick fixes.
It's true. There's no magic bullet here, no one plan that fits everyone. But I think that's also what makes it so empowering. It's about taking charge of your own health. You're not just passively following orders anymore.
Okay, so let's make this practical for our listeners. If someone's out there thinking, okay, this is all fascinating, but what does it mean for me? What would you say?
I'd say start by shifting your focus. Instead of just counting those calories, pay attention to how different foods actually make you feel. Do they give you lasting energy, or do you crash afterward? Does your stomach feel good? And kind of those little cues, they're telling you something important.
It's like you're learning a whole new language, the language of your own body. And like any language, it takes time and practice to really get it.
Exactly. And don't forget, there are people who can help you along the way. Talk to your doctor, a registered dietitian. Don't be afraid to try different things till you find what clicks for you.
So important. You don't have to do this all alone. There are experts out there who can help you navigate all this.
Definitely. And don't be afraid to experiment. What works for you today might be different next month or next year. Our bodies are constantly changing, so what we do for our health should too.
I love that. It's about being in it for the long haul, not just trying to hit some finish line and be done.
Exactly. It's about finding the joy in taking care of yourself, both body and mind.
Well said. So to wrap things up today for our listeners, here's a little something to ponder. If you could forget about the calorie counting for a second and just focus on one thing that makes your body feel amazing, what would it be? Something to think about. Until next time, everyone, keep on diving deep.